It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and 10.
All right, everybody, welcome into another week at the Border War. We want to make sure we tell you thank you for listening and downloading our show last week. And BG, he is not in studio. We've got him with us, though. Say hello, BG.
Hello, BG.
Hello, BG. We entered into a partnership this week, didn't we, my friend? We are pleased
we did. We got something new going on.
Yes, sir. We are pleased to announce that we are now part of the Stadium Scene TV network. We want to give a big thanks to DJ with those guys for getting all of that put together. So make sure you head over there. They've got a lot of really good podcasts to check out. You can leave reviews on stadiums around the country. The best places to park, eat, all kinds of things. It's a really neat idea, so we want to say thank you for letting us join in and get in on that. And also, we announced last week we were on Spotify. Well, now you can check us out on iTunes. We've added that to the list of ways that you can get your BG and TanMan fix. So head over to Spreaker, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We are everywhere, whichever way you want to take in the Border War.
All kinds of stuff happening with the Border War.
Everywhere. If you saw our video, we've got a special guest in the studio for a few minutes today. She was able to carve out a couple minutes of her busy schedule. I want to welcome my daughter into the studio. She wanted to be part of the show. Lean into the microphone and say hello.
Hello.
Hello. All right, so...
A big South Carolina and Redskins fan, from what I'm told.
Well, tell us what you think about the Cowboys. You've had some pretty strong thoughts about the Cowboys over the year. What do you think about the Cowboys?
They stink.
You gotta lean. People need to hear you.
They stink.
You don't know what you're talking about. That's terrible tape.
That is classic.
What about the Redskins? Do we like the Redskins?
No.
No Redskins either?
Nope.
Jeez.
What about the Panthers? Do you like the Panthers?
Yes.
So you like the Panthers, not the Cowboys or the Redskins. So
Well, TanMan, the important thing is she's inside the box.
I don't know where I've gone wrong with this one. She's gone off the rails. I don't get it. Well, we know you have to go. We know you have a busy schedule. So we want to thank you for stopping in. We hope you'll join us at some point a little bit later on. Sound good? All right. BG, let's get into it. Training camp is around the corner. I think the Ravens are in now. Most other teams at some point this week are going to be heading out that way. So it's a fun time of the year where you get to delve into position battles.
People feel so desperate for football that training camp, like the draft and like, the combine, have almost become like spectator sports.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with your Redskins. Last week we started with my Tar Heels, so we'll start with your Redskins this week. We camp around the corner. What are you looking for? What's got your football juices flowing?
Well, obviously, and again, I don't know how much time we want to spend talking about it. The
None.
big story
No
of
time.
the camp is how well Alex Smith will adapt to the offense the Redskins run. You would like to think that it's sort of just plug and play, right? You take a quarterback who's experienced and you put him into, a different system, and hope at the level that he's produced in Kansas City the past couple of years. I don't know to what degree we'll be able to tell that during training camp, but hopefully, you see some signs of Smith meshing well with what Washington does on offense. And obviously, again, my big story there is just eliminating turnovers. I think that's the story of Alex Smith's success or lack thereof in the capital city. But as far as like position battles, which is, I think, a lot of times, what training camp is purported to be about, and it's sort of, when you look at position battles, honestly, let's be honest, what you're talking about on a football team is where are your holes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, for example, are not going to have a position battle at running back because you're good there. is the running back position. You know, obviously Darius Geis is coming in, and honestly, I sort of hinted at this last week on the show. It sounds a little strange to say, but I think this kid who has not carried a single time in the NFL yet has the inside track to be the number one running back on the Redskins probably from week one.
Oh, no, I think that's a given. I think Geis is definitely going to start from the word go.
So really the question there becomes, with Chris Thompson and Rob Kelly, like that's going to be the battle. And it'll make preseason games a little more interesting because obviously Geis is not going to take a lot of contact in the preseason games. So, you know, between Chris Thompson and Rob Kelly, both of whom have had weeks where they've looked like first-team running backs, neither of them have been able to stay consistent and off the injured reserve. So my feeling is probably that Chris Thompson has a little more of a chance of making this squad if we're only going to carry two running backs. And Fat Rob might be on his way out, which I hate because if you've looked at his journey into the NFL, I mean, he's obviously overcome a lot and has contributed to Washington winning football games. But that position battle is one worth watching. And then in the defensive secondary, specifically at the cornerback position, Bashad Breeland leaves via free agency.
I know you're devastated by losing Breeland. I know that struck
you. And I mean,
you.
it really isn't that he played at Clemson. I mean, all things being equal, that doesn't help him any in my head. But Bashad Breeland played on a Clemson team that did not scare me as much as the one that's there now. So Breeland mostly lost to South Carolina, so I don't hold that against him. I think he was ranked about the 68th best cornerback in the league last year. So, I mean, that's just barely even in the conversation for a starting job. I don't have a problem with Breeland leaving. But Kendall Fuller obviously traded away. He was rated the number 6 cornerback in the league last year. So there is a big hole to fill there. And the Redskins drafted 2 cornerbacks. They picked another cornerback up a couple of weeks ago in the supplemental draft. But I think you look at a couple of guys that have hung around a few years. And then, no shock to you, a former Cowboy, and Orlando Scandrick to possibly fill those slots. So you got guys like Quentin Dunbar and Fabian Moreau, who are probably the inside track guys to get those 2 starting spots. I think at Scandrick's age, you're probably going to see him come in as the nickelback.
Well, don't forget, you still got Josh Norman back there, too.
You do have Josh Norman, but in today's NFL, obviously, you're running most plays. You've got 3 wideouts, if not 4. So, no, Josh Norman's obviously going to have that first cornerback slot. And I should have just said that.
I thought you were overlooking Josh Norman. I was going, whoa.
No, I think Josh Norman probably starts.
I would assume so.
For that second spot, I think either Dunbar or Moreau is your guy. And Scandrick probably, I think he's about 32? He's probably your nickelback at this point. But a lot of questions in the defensive backfield for the Redskins. And, I mean, This is one of those situations where statistics can be really deceiving. I think we were the number 9 defense against the pass last season. But do you want to take a guess why that was?
Well, I was going to say, if you were 9 against the pass, you were 32nd against the run. So what do you think?
We were 28th against the run, but we may as well have been last. Nobody needed to throw the ball against the Redskins.
Right, well, as I say, 28th, 32nd, either way, that's not good. What's your feeling on shoring up that defensive front? Because now you're sitting in a division with Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley. I mean, if you're going to be at the very bottom of the league, then you're going to be, you could have some long afternoons.
Jonathan Allen staying healthy is a huge part of that. But I do think you're going to have to look opposite him at that other defensive end spot. And that is really a completely wide open competition. I think you could see guys compete there that haven't even traditionally played defensive end on the weak side. So we'll see where that goes. But no, I think the key to that run game is, and we talked about the difference when he was in games last season versus when he was hurt. second-year player Jonathan Allen, obviously Deron Payne coming in, another former Alabama player. I think he starts from day one.
One that probably does already have a special place in your heart.
Oh, yeah, he does. I mean, he scored the most delicious-looking touchdown in the history of college football. Trying to think of the right adjective. I'm going to go with delicious.
Delicious. Well,
can you have a better name, though, as a defensive lineman than Deron Payne? Is it possible to have a better name than that?
No. That sounds about perfect. If you ask me.
Leaves the league in 10 years as a Hall of Famer, goes straight into pro wrestling, not even have to change his name or image.
No.
Yeah, so those two guys, two former Alabama players, I think that's your interior presence, and they both have to stay healthy and play the way that film shows us they're capable of playing. And Jonathan Allen was, for a rookie, he was a dominant defensive player last year. I think he played in 5 games before he got hurt, most famously that early game against the Oakland Raiders where Washington's defense just destroyed Oakland. But then everything went downhill. Everyone got hurt. So this is a season where, especially up front, we need to stay healthy.
I agree. Like I said, you got Barkley in the division now with Elliott in the division. 32nd, 28th, whatever it was against the run is not going to cut it.
Last week, it's the running back division. It is.
Oh, absolutely. On the Cowboys side, what I'm most looking forward to, the biggest storyline to me is: are we or are we not going to pull the trigger finally on an Earl Thomas deal? You know, every day that goes by, you hear. It seems like every day that goes by, you hear something else. That he's not happy up there, et cetera, et cetera. He wants to be in Dallas. I'm not sure what the price that Seattle is looking for is, but I really don't know what Jerry and Steven's holdup with bringing Earl Thomas is in.
I don't either. It seems like a match made in heaven, and I mean, we're going to talk about that division here shortly, the AFC West, and give our predictions. But spoiler alert, I don't think Earl's got too much to play for up there right now.
No, I think they're going to be in for a long year. On our defensive side of the ball, I don't know if you heard, a major pickup has been brought back to Dallas. Randy Gregory is now released from suspension. Randy Gregory is back. He's going to be wreaking havoc on the NFC East once again. So now if we can just get him and David Irving together to stay off the green, I think we'll have something on our front line. What do you think?
I don't know what to think about Randy Gregory. I mean,
he's fantastic.
The amount of time that he's been away from real live bullets football makes me, I mean, you know, if I was a Cowboys fan, I'm certainly not worried. Now, does he have the potential? Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Has he been doing NFL quality workouts for the past 2 seasons?
Well, hopefully he has, and not just been sitting on the couch watching SpongeBob reruns.
That's not what you need to worry about him doing while he's sitting on the couch.
Well, if you sit on the couch watching SpongeBob reruns, he's probably doing what got him suspended to start with.
There you go. There you go. I mean, you know, obviously, there aren't many cases of a kid like him having these problems and missing this much time early and then coming back to contribute in a major way. But, you know, he's his own player, so we'll see.
Well,
if I were you, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Well, the good thing is, with our defensive line, kind of like with the wide receivers, it doesn't seem like, other than DeMarcus Lawrence, that there's any one guy we're relying on. Our defensive line is going to be a rotating door, whether it be Malik Collins when he gets back, David Irving when he gets off his suspension. They're saying they really like the Jihad Ward that they brought in from Oakland in the trade. So, you know, again, if you get anything that you get out of Gregory is going to be a plus. On the offensive side of the ball, to me the biggest thing is...
Do you know what they're paying him?
I don't. It probably can't.
I would assume...
It probably can't be much, because I think I saw... You're talking about Gregory, right?
Yes.
I think I saw where, because he was suspended, like, he's still on his rookie deal, and he's still under contract for like 3 more years. So and he was like a 3rd-round pick, I think. So, I mean, they're not paying him anything. So, like I said, anything you get out of him is a plus. Offensively, we've talked about it. There's no Des Bryant. One thing
no wide receivers.
One thing that Dak really caught a lot of flack for last year was that he and Des never really did get on the same page in the 2 years they were together. So I think that Dak Prescott getting on the same page with his receivers, namely Allen Hurns, Michael Gallup, Terrence Williams. If he's not on the page with Williams, but I
really think I said it last week.
Getting together with those guys
is huge.
Yeah, oh yeah. And
I think it's absolutely critical that he's going to be a Josh Doctson type player. He doesn't contribute. That vacuum on your offense is going to be really visible. I think.
Well, look, I think there's a real opportunity, a real chance that he's gonna take Terrence Williams' job sooner rather than later, maybe. Because I
absolutely agree with you.
For years, I stood on the table and said, Terrence Williams and Des Bryant are one of the that's one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. And when Des went down, Terrence Williams had an opportunity, and he did basically nothing with it. So I'm about ready to wash my hands of him much the same way you've washed your hands of Bashaud Breeland. I would love for Michael Gallup to take his spot and
when you look at Gallup's
jettison
film,
him on.
In today's NFL, one really has to wonder what happens when a wideout doesn't make it. The defenders can't really do anything to stop you from catching the ball, and they're not allowed to do much once you catch it.
No.
If you've got your head screwed on right and you watch film and you go out there, and hopefully, if I'm a Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, I know Dak Prescott's not going anywhere. I'm doing as much work with that cat off the field, off the scheduled practices as I can do, because a rhythm with him is really the only thing holding me back. If I've got the talent and I can catch a football, the NFL wants you to catch that football.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I'm with you. I think Gallup's in a position to become a starting player sooner rather than later. And again, your team has a need for it. We joke about it, but really, Cole Beasley is seriously your most potent threat right now of proven players. That's insane.
Well, look, losing Witten has obviously created this huge hole on the offensive side. Chances are
the guy who was always open.
Right. So chances are whoever replaces Witten is not going to come anywhere near and give you anywhere near the kind of production that he did. And so these receivers, of which there are many that are okay at the very least.
Yeah.
The opportunity to put up numbers is there. Just my opinion. Moving on to the Panthers, BG. To me, the biggest storyline coming into Panthers training camp is offensively bring Norv Turner in. Does his system fit? You've had your Norv Turner era. We've had our Norv Turner era, and now it's the Carolina Panthers' turn. It seems like Turner's been everywhere, but is his system and what he does, can he help Cam Newton take that next step? Is he the man?
Everywhere he's been as an offensive coordinator, and that's the difference with Washington, is obviously he was with us as a head coach. Certainly had some success, but a head coach's responsibilities really, really different from an offensive coordinator in the NFL. I think in college you see a lot of guys who slant one way or the other. Let's be honest, Nick Saban is Alabama's defensive coordinator. And you can get away with that at the college level. In the NFL, you really are a CEO and a manager of personalities and positions. So a different role. But everywhere he's been as an OC, he has produced results in his first season.
Yeah, he's done a really good job.
He's improved every quarterback. The difference here is, and maybe it sounds like I'm giving Cam a hard time. Now, I have a hard time not sounding like I'm giving Cam a hard time. I don't know how receptive Cam Newton actually is to coaching at this point in his career. He's obviously in a good mood. If you follow Cam on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, he's feeling good. He's not going into this season downtrodden or feeling any stress. So that's good news if I'm a Panthers fan, because this team is only going to be as successful as Cam Newton is. But I wonder how much improvement you can expect.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Who's the real Cam Newton?
As Cam has played, and he's only let's just be really honest here. He's only had one good season.
Right.
That season was a great season.
Who's the real Cam Newton? Is it the guy that won the MVP and went 15-1 and took the Panthers to the Super Bowl? Or is it the guy that's followed that up after we thought he took that step? Is it the guy that has followed that up the last couple of years with career low passer ratings?
Well, I mean, I think in any sport, I mean, you're as good as what we saw the last time you played, right? I mean, that's the Cam Newton that I'm expecting to see, and yes, I think we'll see some improvements. Now, I heard an interview with Norv Turner, I think a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was on Mike and Not Mike, and I believe he really just talked about consistency. And I mean, obviously it was full of Coach D. Norv's been around the league. He's not going to give you an interesting interview.
Right.
But that, he argues that Cam's 75% of his snaps still look like they did that MVP year, but just that when he improvs a bit too much, then they turn the ball over or they throw. But the thing about Cam, and you don't hear a lot of people say this, but it just is true. Cam still overthrows swing routes on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
He is not a good thrower of the football, period. And I don't know how anybody can argue that he is. He can throw the ball a mile. And so if you've got receivers that can get under the football and make plays for the football, then, yeah, he can give you a lot of passing yardage. But his primary threat to me continues to be on the ground. And at his size and at his age, a.k.a. Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to have to adapt his game soon if he expects to remain as relevant as he has been. And I'm sure that's exactly what Norv Turner is doing.
Well, on the defensive side of the ball, they keep trotting Julius Peppers out there. He wound up with 11 sacks at 74 years old. Luke Kuechly is, the knock on him is he's a great player.
It's his health, man.
It's his health. Thomas Davis, the same thing. We know that he's had he's had several knee surgeries. He's staring at a 4-game suspension. Defensively, what do you think this Panthers team is going to look like?
Well, I've got 3 positions of question here, and 2 of them are on the defensive side of the ball. The first one is at cornerback.
Yeah, as I'm sitting here looking at the depth chart now, that ESPN's
got
Dante Jackson.
You've lost Darley Worley, who was a good cornerback. Obviously that first spot is one thing, but I don't know. Could you kind of pencil Corn Elder in as maybe the for right now second cornerback? But Dante Jackson to me is a really important player. And then also on the defensive line, this sounds just like what we talked about with the Redskins, but you've got Dontari Poe coming in from Atlanta to replace Starless with a delay.
Uh-huh.
And last year the Panthers had the 3rd best rushing defense in the league, so you can't take a step back there. They had the 3rd best rushing defense in the league in a team that didn't sniff the playoffs. So,
Well, I think they're going to be tough to run on when you look at that defensive line that's got big bodies and Poe and Kawan Short on it, Mario Addison on the ends. I think up front, I think up front they're going to be pretty stout. But like you said, in that back 7, that secondary, we've talked about it before. Which one of these guys between Jackson or Cockrell or Elder,
falls apart.
And, who's gonna take the step and grab hold of the other cornerback spot?
Like Captain Munnerlin's not at a spot in his career right now where he should be in the conversation. The fact that his name's coming up to me should be a concern.
Oh no, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know that he was even still in the league.
Well, and there you go.
I thought he was gone. Safety-wise, you've got Adams back there, but he's getting a little long in the tooth. They're bringing Denoris Searcy, the former Tar Heel, over from Tennessee to play back there. But I don't know. I have some questions about this, but that's what training camp is for. These guys are going to get in here and compete a little bit, and hopefully for the Panthers that some of these guys can step up and answer some of the questions that guys like you and me have about them.
Flipping back to the other side of the ball real quick, and this is a question I can't believe I haven't seen more press coverage on, but Jonathan Stewart is gone. I mean,
Yeah.
Jonathan Stewart was Mr. Panther.
Well,
The most productive running back in the history of the franchise. You've got C.J. Anderson back there now. I mean, again, if you look at Cam and his inconsistencies, I'll be nice, throwing the football, I mean, you really need that running game to produce on a consistent level. You need a first down carry back there pretty frequently.
I'll be honest, I like the running back position.
For the majority of the rushing yards.
No, I like the running back position, whether it's McCaffrey. I've always liked Cameron Artis-Payne. You just mentioned C.J. Anderson. I think that they're trying to create a Cam Newton-friendly offense and get him, get him some weapons. Bringing in Torrey Smith. They're really high on Funchess. I've never been much of a Funchess man, but they're trying to get Cam some weapons.
Born number 2 wide receiver. I mean, I just think you're going to see DJ Moore take that spot by about week 5.
Yeah. So like I said, they're trying to create a Cam-friendly offense. Good for them. We'll see if it works. But
it's the thing you have to try. I mean, nobody's blaming them for that because Cam, I mean, he's not capable of being anything other than what he has become at this point. You're not going to teach that dog new tricks. You're going to have to get him to go through a different process.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Yeah, you brought up earlier about, what at this point in his career, can he change? Can he? I mean, I tend to think that he's been around long enough that what you see and the Cam Newton, that's going to be him. I don't expect any more spikes in production like you saw in 2015. I would expect that, like you said, everywhere North Turner has gone, he's improved the quarterback play. So I would expect that Cam's quarterback play is going to step up a level or two, but I don't know that you're ever going to get back to the level that he was playing a couple years ago whenever they were setting the world on fire. I don't think that's the real Cam Newton.
I don't know how anyone, if it is the real Cam Newton, why has he only done it one time?
Exactly.
You are what you do. I don't think South Carolina basketball is a Final Four team. We're not a Final Four program, and just because we did it one time doesn't change that. This is exactly the same as that.
I agree. Before we close up the NFL session this week, it's about that time to start making some predictions, of which I'm sure that, what would you say, 75, 80%, probably going to be wrong?
I'd say about half. I think we do better than that. I think about half.
All right. Well, we're going to start off in the Western Division real quick. You want to do the NFC or the AFC first?
We always do the NFC first, man.
Do we? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't ever put the AFC in front of the real football league, man. Don't do that.
4th place in the NFC West, I'm going the Seattle Seahawks. I think that when Richard Sherman says they've lost their way or whatever his quote was, I think that's exactly right. I think Seattle is ripe for a total rebuild up there in the Northwest.
You want me to go ahead and with my 4th place team?
Sure.
I think you're right about Seattle, but I do think that they have a little bit more talent left on their roster than the Cardinals do. Outside of Larry Fitzgerald, the questions at quarterback, big questions at quarterback, I think the Cardinals, they might have a 5 to 6 win season. And keep in mind, I'm the guy who picked them to win that division last year. So
you did?
Yeah, the Cardinals, they're going to have a rough season, but I agree with you about Seattle.
And my 3rd place team is the Cardinals. I think Arizona could have a pretty good season. Offensively, like you said, other than Larry Fitzgerald at the wide receiver position, nothing is going to really scare you. But you're forgetting about the man in the backfield, David Johnson, the great equalizer.
Well, you know why I forgot about him, right?
Because
he's
never on the field
in 4 years.
And maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid,
you're about
man.
to make the you're about to make the Cam argument with him. We've only seen him do that once.
No. I've moved on from him. I believe in David Johnson. I think David Johnson is going to be in for a big, big year. What I'm saying is, if quarterback-wise, you can keep Sam Bradford upright, or if Josh Rosen can step in and maybe even beat Sam Bradford out for that job at some point this year, that defense to me is a little underrated. I think that's a pretty good defense. This division is I think this division could be won by 2 or 3 teams. I think Arizona is one of them. Again, like, if they get consistent quarterback play, I'm a little higher on the Cardinals. In second place, I'm going the 49ers. I think they started off terrible last year. They finally got Garoppolo in the lineup. What'd they go, 5-0 with him once he finally started playing?
Yeah, the final five games of the season.
I'm not expecting them to go 16-0, but I do expect them to at least be in the mix for a playoff spot late in the season.
And obviously, you have the Rams,
right,
in first place. Then, right?
I've got the Rams in first place. Yes, they're taking their swing, man. They're taking their shot, which is what you have to do when you've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. Which is I wish Dallas would take a shot, but you've got a quarterback on a rookie deal, man. Same thing Seattle did a few years ago before it was time to pay Russell Wilson.
The exact same thing. Yep. Paid off twice.
Yeah, and so the Rams, they bring in Ndamukong Suh, bring Robert Woods. They just paid him.
That's not just terrifying.
Oh my goodness!
Ndamukong Suh is going to be getting one-on-one matches.
Well, I was going to say you have a defensive line with Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. That's almost not fair.
Yeah. I'm straight with you. It sounds like the only disagreement we have is, the third and fourth place teams. I think the Seahawks probably win 7 games this year. I sort of just penciled in win totals. I know that's not what you asked for, but just to get an idea, I definitely think that the Niners are on the upswing, but they are a second place team this year, probably about 9-7 if I had to guess.
Yeah, I was going to say
and
somewhere around.
The Rams.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say somewhere around there. I don't think that I'm not ready to fully buy in and jump in on the 49ers bandwagon, but the arrow is definitely pointing up.
The arrow's pointing up, and I've got the Rams also in first place. I've got them winning about 11 games is what I'm thinking. I think this is a really, really good football team. Obviously, Gurley has to stay healthy, but it looks like they've got a quarterback for as long as they want him. And like you said, they've brought in some serious talent on defense. And when you've got offensive firepower and a run-stopping defense, you can do some damage, especially in a division where even the 49ers, you got a rebuilding team and 2 teams with real question marks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of potential wins just right there.
Start us off in the AFC West. Who you got
right
at the bottom?
You know what? I had a hard time. None of these teams feel like last-place teams. This is one of those divisions where I think you've got one really good football team and 3 teams that I think this season are going to be tough to tell apart.
Okay.
But I put the Raiders in last place.
All right.
I think the Raiders probably win 7 games, but I think they lose a couple of tiebreakers to different teams in their division, and I think they end up being, quote-unquote, the best last-place team in the NFL. I was really high on them last year, and it seems like my strategy is if I put faith in you and you let me down, I punish you.
You are done. You are dead in the eyes of BG.
In the basement. But honestly, I think Denver's a little bit better of a football team, and I don't see how you can make the argument that the Raiders are better than either the Chiefs or the Chargers at this point.
All right.
You want me to do the whole thing?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, third place, I've got Denver, probably winning about 7 games. Still a stout defense, but obviously some very, very serious questions about offense. The Chiefs, I think, are a second-place team, probably about 9-7. I just don't see how they don't take a step back with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I don't care how good he looked that year last year sitting behind Alex Smith. Did not help him. There's no evidence whatsoever that sitting on the bench watching another guy play quarterback helps you. People want to talk about 2 guys, right? They want to talk about Steve Young and Aaron Rodgers. Those guys could have been just that good before. You just had 2 coaches that had better quarterbacks anyway at the time. But the Chiefs, 9-7, I think they stay competitive, but I don't see how they don't take a small step back. And then the Chargers, I don't know, man. This is an impressive football team. It sounds crazy to be talking about two different Los Angeles football teams like this. Last year, we made fun of the Chargers. I told you I didn't even think that the league wanted them in the league anymore. The city of Los Angeles didn't even seem like they wanted the Chargers. The mayor of Los Angeles made some sort of slip-up in a press conference and forgot that they were there. That being said, the Chargers are going to win 11 football games this year, TanMan. This is a legitimately scary football roster from top to bottom.
Well, I think this is a record-setting moment here on the show. I think for the first time since we've been doing this, we don't have any of the same.
That is amazing.
Of the same.
So let's buckle this one then. This is one we want to keep an eye on this from week to week.
I've got the Chiefs in last place. I think letting Alex Smith go and moving on from Alex Smith, it had probably run its course and it was probably the right thing to do. But I think Mahomes is going to have some real growing pains. I'm not sure
it was the right thing to do for Andy Reid at this point in his career. But
from a franchise point, I think you kind of hit your glass ceiling with Alex Smith.
No, you had.
After the meltdown in the playoffs last year, like I said, it was probably time. Texas Tech quarterbacks, somebody's going to have to make a believer out of me because we've seen 5 or 6 of them go down there and light the world on fire, and then it doesn't translate to the next level. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in fourth place. In third place, I'm going the Chargers. They started off really slow last year.
The Chargers?
Yeah,
really?
Yes. They started off terrible. They spent the second half of the season looking amazing. Again, who's the real Chargers? We've all been high on the Chargers before. Everyone has said this is Phillip Rivers' best chance right here before. Again, you're going to have to make a believer out of me. I'm not real high on the Chargers. In second place, I've got the Broncos. Last year,
I can see the Broncos finishing in second. To me, I think the Chargers are a clear number one team, but I can get by with the Raiders and the Chiefs sort of switching places. Because again, I don't think there's a lot of difference between these.
Denver, last year, their Achilles heel was quarterback play. They bring in Case Keenum. We saw what he did in Minnesota. If he can, if he can get,
talked about this,
but if he can get somewhere on that same page, he's
not going to do that again.
If he can get somewhere close to that, and he doesn't even have to be what he was last year. If he can get somewhere in the ballpark and just not be awful, which is what they were at that spot last year, you look at that defense. It's still the same bad defense. I say bad in a good term. The same bunch of bad dudes on that defense that they had before. And they added probably, you could argue, maybe the best player in the draft in Bradley Chubb. What they get Chubb at 4 or 5. I think if Case Keenum is just steady, they've still got Demaryius Thomas. If Keenum is just steady, that defense is going to carry Denver to a handful of wins. First place, I've got the Raiders. I love what they've done. I loved adding John Gruden back. They add Martavis Bryant. They add Jordy Nelson. They bring in Doug Martin, who he's going to be able to now.
I love that they've added one player that can't stay healthy and another player that can't stay clean.
I love it. I love it, man.
But that's where they need to be. Don't get me wrong.
That is Oakland Raider-esque right there, buddy. So I'm going with the Raiders winning that division, but I agree with what you said. I don't think that when you look at this division, the AFC West from top to bottom, I don't see any one of these 4 teams that just jumps out at you as a last-place team or a first-place team. I think you could jumble most of these teams up in a hat, and any one of them could win it, and I think any one of them could finish last.
Well, to be fair, I said I didn't see one as a real last-place team. I think the Chargers are a clear first place.
Well, and you are clearly wrong. You are clearly wrong.
Okay.
That is
we
it.
will definitely remember this conversation for future reference. Unless I don't want us to.
Oh, well, the bad thing for you when you get this wrong now that we're on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else, everyone around the world is going to be able to come back and rehash the time that you got the AFC West wrong. It'll be a seminal moment in your life.
That's true, because that does, most sportscasters, when they miss things like that, that's the end of their career.
Yes. Yes.
The guys who are out there now are always right. That's why we're still listening.
Well, I was going to say, you may have gotten this one so wrong, it may have put a pin in the border war. We'll see. That's it for
I really hope I haven't hurt us that bad.
Want to remind you to like us and share us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. If you want to get on to BG about his awful AFC West predictions, get on him on Twitter at BG_Border War. I am at TanMan3264. Email the show at CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. Again, make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify and iTunes. Help us out. Click the 5 stars and leave us a review. And don't forget to check out Stadium Scene TV. A lot of great stuff over there, guys. And we will see you a little bit later on.